Right, hello, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Uh, Another one of my rants, I suppose. I'll be gentle. I'm trying to be gentle now. So, the Minor Prophets. This one is so good. It's just so good. It explains the relationship between prophet and God. And all of us believers, we should really be feeling this. If you're a true believer, when you hear Jeremiah, Isaiah, Ezekiel, when you hear these guys speak, Nahum, Zephaniah, when you hear these guys speak, they just, what is it Paul said? The groanings are too much for utterance. They just speak it for you. So let's just go straight in. I love this. This is so good. Where are my eyes? Okay, here they are. The book of Habakkuk. O Father, how long shall I cry for help, and you will not hear? Or cry out to you of violence, and you will not save? Why do you show me iniquity and wrong, and yourself look upon or cause me to see perverseness and trouble? For destruction and violence are before me, and there is strife and contention arises. Therefore the law is slackened, and justice and righteousness sentence never go forth. For the hostility of the wicked surrounds the uncompromisingly righteous. Therefore justice goes forth perverted. Look around you, Habakkuk, replied the father, among the nations and see, and be astonished, astounded, for I am putting into effect a work in your days such that you would not believe it if you were told. For behold, I am rousing up the Chaldeans, that bitter and impetuous nation who march through the breadth of the earth to take possession of dwelling places that do not belong to them. Sounds familiar, right? Sounds very familiar. I don't need to say anything. Just listen. And we know who we're all talking. We know who we're talking about. Who march through the breadth of the earth to take possession of dwelling places that do not belong to them. The Chaldeans are terrible and dreadful. Their justice and dignity proceed only from themselves. Their horses are swifter than leopards and are fiercer than the evening wolves, and their horsemen spread themselves and press on loudly. Yes, their horsemen come from afar. They fly like an eagle that hastens to devour. They all come for violence. Their faces turn eagerly forward, and they gather prisoners together like sand. They scoff at kings, and rulers are a derision to them. They ridicule every stronghold, for they heap up dust for earth mounds and take it. Then they sweep by like the wind and pass on, and they load themselves with guilt, as do all men, whose own power is their God. Are you not from everlasting, O Father, my God, my Holy One? We shall not die. O Father, you have appointed the Chaldean to execute your judgment, and you, O Rock, have established him for chastisement and correction. You see, that's why I just learned to let things go, because, you know what I mean? At the end of the day, most of all our punishment has come from the Father, and He has used other people to give us a good ass whooping, right? And you hear it all the time from us. Oh, we don't trust them. Oh, I hate these. Oh, blah, blah, blah. This, that, blah, blah, blah. What about them? What about them? So I'm going to say it again. When Yeshua came, he did not focus on the Romans. And people talk about being uncleavable. I don't care. Stay away from me. Blah, blah, blah. And it's like, humble yourselves. It's not about you. It's all for his glory, and vengeance is his. Just leave it to the Father to take care of. Humble yourselves. What does it say about us if he used them to chastise us? Yes, I'm saying it again. What does it say about us if we were rotten as well? Again and again and again and again. Punished again and again and again. Even worse than the heathen, sometimes even worse than the Gentiles. But we are to be forgiven. And the times are coming where Jeremiah 16, is it 16:19? Yeah, Jeremiah 16:19 and Isaiah 60, they're playing out the brightness of our rising. People are noticing their fathers have told them lies. And what are we? We're still bitter. We're still resentful. And still moaning and focusing. Just focus ahead. Because most of this book is just us getting cussed out. Like, that's what I see. But, we read things like this. Few believers like me read things like this so people can realize who they are and what they need to repent for and hopefully turn around. Because it's all about winning souls. So if we can be forgiven, we must allow others. I know people don't like it when I talk like this, but I get it, but a lot of people just, they don't get it. Humble yourselves, humble yourselves, humble yourselves. Are you not from everlasting, O my Father, my Holy One? We shall not die. O Father, you have appointed the Chaldean to execute your judgment, and you, O Rock, have established him for chastisement and correction. You are of purer eyes than to behold evil, and cannot look inactively upon injustice. Why then do you look upon the plunderer? Why are you silent when the wicked one destroys him, who is more righteous than the Chaldean oppressor is? Why do you make men like the fish of the sea, like reptiles and creeping things that have no ruler, and are defenseless against their foes? The Chaldean brings up all of them with his hook. He catches and drags them out with his net. He gathers them in his dragnet. So he rejoices and is in high spirits. Therefore he sacrifices offerings to his net and burns incense to his dragnet, because from them he lives luxuriously, and his food is plenteous and rich. Shall he therefore continue to empty his net and mercilessly go on slaying nations forever? I love this bit. It's added. It's not in the King James, but it's added during the Amplified, during the translation. I love this. Oh, I know I have been rash to talk out plainly this way to God. I will, in my thinking, stand upon my post and observation and standing, and station myself on the tower or fortress, and I will watch to see what he will say within me, and what answer I will make as his mouthpiece to the perplexities of my complaint against him. And the Father answered and said, Write the vision and engrave it so plainly upon tablets that everyone who passes may be able to read it easily and quickly as he hastens by. It's brilliant. This is brilliant. See, Habakkuk's like stressing, like just complaining to Yah. He's like I've just brought it. I'm sorry, but I just let it all out. I know I shouldn't talk to you like this, but I'm just pouring my heart out. And like, how long have we waited? We're waiting, Father. We're waiting. We've waited for you so long. Like, before we even knew who you are, before we even knew that you are our Elohim, we were asking these questions. Asking these questions. How come? How come they can do this? How come they can do that? Where is God? People are still asking that question now. You know, and you just have to reply to them, look, stop asking, stop talking, just read the book. Read the book. I will stand up on my post of observation and station myself on the tower or fortress, and I will watch and see what he will say within me, what answer I will make as his mouthpiece to the perplexities and complaint against him. So Father Yah was like, okay, write it down. Write it down. Write it on the wall. Right on the wall. So anyone who's driving past, anyone who's going past quickly can just glimpse and see what you said and see what you're waiting for, what you're asking for. Revelations 13:10. Write it down. Write it on the wall. That's so good. Like, for the vision is yet for an appointed time, and it hastens to the end fulfillment. It will not deceive or disappoint. Though it tarry, wait earnestly for it, because it will surely come. It will not be behindhand on its appointed day. Look at the proud. His soul is not straight or right within him, but the rigidly just and the uncompromisingly righteous man shall live by his faith and in his faithfulness. Look at the proud. You see, some people, they just have so much. It's like I was watching Questioning Time the other week, right? And some columnist came on and he was talking about, oh, well, mental health and stress has nothing to do with poverty. One of the places in the world which has the most mental health problems are some of the richest places, like Monaco. Monaco's top of the list. And I was like, hold on, dude, you can't actually say that. You can't actually use it. These are rich people's problems. I mean, what are their problems? Oh, they can't keep up with the Joneses, or I've got the old Rolls Royce and my neighbours just bought the new Rolls Royce and now I'm being ridiculed. And like, people got real life problems here. Like, these people in Monaco, they don't have to worry about when the next bill's coming from, how they're going to pay the next bill. Are they going to lose the car? Are they going to lose the house? You know what I mean? They've got the money to hire therapists and all this stuff just for nonsense. I mean, you really have to look into why are they hiring these people. You can't just use that as a statistic to say that, oh, they suffer more from mental health than the poorer people. And it's just like, shut up, man. Shut up. The proud, his soul is not straight or right within him, but the rigidly just and the uncompromisingly righteous man shall live by his faith and his faithfulness. We just get on with it and we wait. We wait for justice. If you're a believer, become a believer. Like I keep saying, you deserve the second life. You deserve a better life. You've been downtrodden all this time. All this time. all this time. Nothing's changed. In the days of Robin Hood, whether it's just a story or not, these same quotes come out. The kings bleed the people dry to serve their own exploits and pursuits, their own wars. In the Napoleonic times, watching Sharp, all working class people should watch Sharp. Like, bleed the people dry to go spending money on foreign wars. Same today. And watching Sharp, you just see how Britain has not changed at all. It shows you how they actually see us. How the hierarchy is. And how they really don't care. They don't care at all. You're not really people to them. You get these rich, pompous snobs thinking that they're all this. But the real people doing the work, the real people fighting, the real people making the money, the real people who hold up the country are just the honest working man. And then they swoop in and they take all the accolades. But they're threatened of it. They're threatened of you. Sharp had so many difficulties. He rose his way up through the ranks, and they sneered at him for it. And everyone was jealous of him. Oh, it's such a good show. I used to get angry with my mum for watching this when I was like 10, 11, 12. But now watching it as an adult, I totally understand why she used to watch it. I loved it. Watch Sharp. Look at the proud. His soul is not straight or right within him, but the rigidly just and the uncompromising righteous man shall live by his faith and his faithfulness. Moreover, wine and wealth are treacherous. The proud man, the Chaldean invader, is restless and cannot stay at home. Alexander the Great, the Roman army, the British army, the Americans. His appetite is large, like that of Sheol, and his greed is like death and cannot be satisfied. He gathers to himself all nations and collects all people as if he owned them. Shall not all these victims of his greed take up a taunt against him in scoffing and derision of him, say, woe to him who piles up that which is not his. How long will he possess it? And woe to him who loads himself with promissory notes for usury. Remember, I keep saying, everyone on this side of the world, on the east and in the southern hemisphere, has been their victim at some point in history. And everyone remembers. You go and make films like Oppenheimer and you're reminding the Japanese. You just brought out that film in Japan and you're going to stir up a lot of emotions in Japan. Shall not these victims of his greed take up a taunt against him in scoffing derision of him and say, woe to him who piles up that which is not his? Let me read that in the King James because I think it's so much better. Shall not all these take up a parable against him and a taunting proverb against him and say, woe to him that increaseth that which is not his? How long? And to him that ladeth himself with thick clay. That's such a good description. Laden himself with thick clay, with thick clay, with thick clay. Sooner or later, it's all going to dry up. You got all that clay on you. Now you can't even move. All this guilt. All these convictions. Everyone's got a case against you. Shall your debtors not rise up suddenly? Who shall bite you? exacting usury for you, and those who awake, who will vex you, toss you to and fro, and make you tremble violently. Then you will be booty for them. Shall they not rise up suddenly? They shall they not rise up suddenly, that they shall bite thee, and awake that shall vex thee, and thou shalt be for booties unto them? Because you, king of Babylon, have plundered many nations, all who are left of the people shall plunder you, because of men's blood and the violence done to the earth, to the city, and all the people who live in each city. Woe to him who obtains wicked gain for his house, who thinks by so doing to set his nest on high, that he may be preserved from calamity, and delivered from the power of evil. When I read that, I was just like, what? I've been saying it's money grabbing season. That's what's going on right now. Everyone's just robbing. The people are being bled dry. Woe unto him who obtains wicked gain for his house, who thinks by doing so to set his nest on high, that he may be preserved from calamity and delivered from the power of evil. Wow. You have devised shame to your house by cutting off and putting an end to many peoples, and you have sinned against and fortified your own life. For the stone shall cry out of the wall, built in sin, to accuse you, and the beam out of the woodwork will answer it, agreeing with its charge against you. 11. The stone shall cry out of the wall, built in sin, to accuse you, and the beam out of the woodwork will answer it, agreeing with its charge against you. What immediately sprung to mind when I read that: the stone shall cry out of the wall, built in sin, to accuse you, all your statues. All the statues and the Roman style buildings. The Edom style buildings, shall I say. And the beam out of the woodwork will answer it, agreeing with its charge against you. History books, old books with your own scholars, your own historians, writing the truth. Woe to him who builds a town with blood and establishes a city by iniquity. Behold, it is not by appointment of the Father of hosts that the nations toil only to satisfy the fire that will consume their work, and the people weary themselves only for emptiness, falsity, and futility. Oh, crikey. Behold, it is not by appointment of the Father that the nations toil only to satisfy the fire that will consume their work, and the people weary themselves only for emptiness, falsity, and futility. You see it now, like people just working so hard on their feet, 9 hours, they only get half an hour break. What's that about? It's like, where did our bank holidays go? When I first started working, we got an hour and a half break, an hour for lunch, and then another half an hour later. 1997 I started working. And where did that go? Did we get to vote? Did we get to vote away our bank holidays? You don't even get double pay anymore, and you don't even get the choice not to work. But certain people, they get their weekends and their bank holidays off. They have the choice to keep the Sabbath, but they don't keep the Sabbath. They want you working on the Sabbath so they can play and you serve them. So you can't keep the Sabbath. You're working hard all your life, going home going home tired, coming back to work tired, and then you can't even buy your house. And in this day and age where it's getting worse and worse and worse, you can barely pay your bills, you can't even take your wife somewhere nice, you can't even do this, you can't even do that. And people are worrying, oh, the kids need new shoes, the kids need this, the kids need that. And nobody cares. Nobody cares. None of these politicians are fighting for you, holding these companies to account. And they're taking billions home. They're taking billions in profits every year. Behold, it is not by appointment of the Father of hosts that the nations toil, only to satisfy the fire that will consume their work. And the peoples weary themselves only for emptiness, falsity, and futility. The fire's coming. Don't hold on to nothing. It's going to be so much easier for a lot of us because we have no roots here. We don't have no ambitions here. We have no plans here. We're done. We checked out. We finished. No more. But when we get home, then you'll see ambition. Then you'll see work. Then you'll see togetherness. Then you'll see determination. Because it's all for ourselves, it's for our future, it's for our children and our children's children. Look how our great-grandparents and our grandparents and our fathers, they toiled and they struggled and they... But the time is coming when the earth shall be filled with the knowledge of the glory of the Father, as the waters cover the sea. Woe to him who gives his neighbours drink, who pours out a bottle to them and adds to it your poisonous and blighting wrath, and also makes them drunk, that you may look on their strict condition and pour out foul shame on their glory. Woe to him that giveth his neighbour drink, and puttest thy bottle to him, and makest him drunken also, that thou mayest look upon their nakedness. How many times has that been done? How many times has that been done when you went to go and conquer countries and you went for their resources and you went and you destabilized them, you gave them alcohol. In China, you gave them opium. Everybody remembers. It's written down here in the book. Giving them drink, getting them drunk. Corrupting the kings, paying them off, so that the people won't fight against you. The men won't rise up. You give them this new thing, alcohol. You give them these new drugs and everything. Get them all high and all, and then you take everything. There's so much to answer for. It's unbelievable. Laden with thick clay. Woe to him who gives his neighbours drink, who pours out your bottle to them and adds to it your poisonous and blighting wrath, and also makes them drunk, that you may look on their stripped down condition and pour out foul shame on their glory. You yourself will be filled with shame and contempt instead of glory. Drink also and be like an uncircumcised heathen. The cup of wrath in the Lord's right hand will come around to you, O destroyer, and foul shame shall be upon your own glory. For the violence done to Lebanon will cover the overwhelming, will cover and overwhelm you. The destruction of the animals, which the violence frightened away, will terrify you on account of men's blood and the violence done to that land, to the city and all its inhabitants. What profit is the graven image when its maker has formed it? It is only a molten image and a teacher of lies. For the maker trusts in his own creations and his gods when he makes his dumb idols. Woe to him who says to the wooden image, awake, and to the dumb stone, arise, teach. Yet it cannot, for behold, it is laid over with gold and silver, and there is no breath in it at all. But the Father is in his holy temple. Let all the earth hush and keep silent before him. A prayer of Habakkuk the prophet set to wild in an enthusiastic and triumphant music. O Father, I have heard the report of you and was afraid. O Father, revive your work in the midst of the years. In the midst of the years, make yourself known. In wrath, earnesty, remember love, pity, and mercy. Yah, approaching from Sinai, came from Teman, which represents Edom, and the Holy One from Mount Paran in the Sinai region, Selah. His glory covered the heathens, and the earth was full of his praise. Yah, approaching from Sinai, came from Teman, which represents Edom, and the Holy One from Mount Paran in the Sinai region. His glory covered the heavens, and the earth was full of his praise. And his brightness was like the sunlight rays, streamed from his hand, and there in the sun-like splendor was the hiding place of his power. Before him went the pestilence, as in Egypt, and burning plague followed his feet, as in Sennacherib's army. Gather yourselves. He stood and measured the earth. He looked and shook the nations. And the eternal mountains were scattered, and the perpetual hills bowed low. His ways are everlasting, and his goings are of old. I, Habakkuk, in a vision, saw the tents of Cushan in affliction. The tent curtains of the land of Midian trembled. Were you displeased with the rivers, O Father, or was your anger against the rivers you divided? Was your wrath against the Red Sea that you rode before upon your horses and your chariots of victory and deliverance? Your bow was made quite bare, sworn to the tribes of Israel. By your sure word were the rods of chastisement, scourges and calamities. Selah. Your bow was made quite bare, sworn to the tribes of Israel. By your sure word were the rods of chastisement, scourges, and calamities. With rivers you cleave the earth, bringing forth waters in dry places. The mountains saw you, they trembled and writhed as if in pain. The overflowing of the water passed by as the deluge. The deep uttered its voice and lifted up his hands on high. The mountains saw you, and they trembled and writhed as if in pain. It's just like so familiar from all the other prophets. Come on, man. The mountains saw you, they trembled and writhed as if in pain. The overflowing of the water passed by as at the deluge. The deep uttered its voice and lifted its hands on high. What do hands do? The deep uttered its voice and lifted its hands on high. The sun and moon stood back. As before Joshua, in their habitation at the light of your arrows as they sped, at the flash of your glittering spear. You marched through the land in indignation and trampled and threshed the nations in your anger. You went forth and have come for the salvation of your people, for the deliverance and victory of your anointed people, Israel. You smote the head of the house of the wicked, laying bare the foundation even to the neck. Selah. You pierced with his own arrows the head of the enemy's hordes. They came out as a whirlwind to scatter me, the people, rejoicing as if to devour the poor, Israel, secretly. You have trodden the sea with your horses, beside the heap of great and surging waters. I heard, and my whole inner self trembled. My lips quivered at the sound. Rottenness enters into my bones and under me. Down to my feet, I tremble. I will wait quietly for the day of trouble and distress when there shall come up against my people him who is about to invade and oppress them. Though the fig tree does not blossom and there is no fruit on the vines, though the product of the olive fails and the fields yield no food, though the flock is cut off and from the fold, though the flock is cut off from the fold and there are no cattle in the stalls, yet I will rejoice in my Father, I will exult in the victorious Yah of my salvation. Father Yah is my strength, my personal bravery, and my invincible army. He makes my feet like hinds' feet. Will make me to walk, not to stand in terror, but to walk, and make spiritual progress upon high places of trouble, suffering, or responsibility. That's super deep. This is why I've stopped saying like, oh, it's an exciting time. It's an exciting time. I like me personally. I don't know. Like, it's just especially like going to another family gathering. Oh my gosh. Sorry, yeah, I know, right? Totally overdoing it with a glass goblet. Sorry, yeah, especially going to another family gathering and it turning into a blazing argument because I'm hearing the same old nonsense. Oh, King James, who is King James? King James, and it's just like, it's like talking to a brick wall. And you know that just nobody's been watching the videos that you've been sending. You say like, look, come on, please watch this video, like. And you know nobody's reading, and it's just like, so you just set apart. And then you understand the scriptures that say, if you love your mother, brother, son, daughter more than me, you're not worthy of the kingdom. These things come to light. I come to divide. It's one thing reading it, but when you're actually living it, it's loud and clear. So for me, it's not exciting to see, I don't know what's going to happen to certain family members, to certain friends, to people in your community who refuse to pick up the book, who refuse to keep the Sabbath, follow the laws. That's not exciting, because I don't know what's going to happen. And even if they do make it to the motherland, then, you know, I've read Exodus. And you beg them to read Exodus, and it's just like, and nobody wants to read. You think, okay, Yah's going to show them mercy. He's just going to get them he's just going to get them home. But you know what happens when they get home. It's just like, you read Exodus and you're going to get the garlic, leek and onions people. You're going to get the Janus and Jambries and the Dathams and... And these are the people closest to you. These are people you've grown up with. These are the people you've seen growing up. These are your own family members. So I've stopped saying it's an exciting time. It's an exciting time. I heard, and my whole inner self trembled. My lips quivered at the sound. Rottenness enters into my bones, and under me, down to my feet, I tremble. I will wait quietly for the day of trouble and distress, when there shall come up against my people him who is about to invade and oppress them. There's a lot of hard times ahead. Though the fig tree does not blossom, and there is no fruit on the vines, though the product of the olive fails, and the fields yield no food, though the flock is cut off from the fold, and there are no cattle in the stalls, I have to rejoice and exult in the victorious Yah of our salvation. The Father is my strength and my personal bravery, and my invincible army. He makes my feet like hinds' feet, and will make me walk, not to stand in terror, but to walk, and make spiritual progress upon my high places of trouble, suffering, and responsibility. Hind legs, strength to just walk, to leap if you have to. Who knows what's going to happen? One thing I do know what's going to happen is it's the beginning of all kinds of trials and tribulations. This is it. Everything's in place. And you have them faking prophecy, which is going to infuriate the Most High. You got everybody scrambling to distract us. For us, of course, get us angry about this, get us angry about that. Look here, look there. I mean, you know, the king and the prince and princesses have a reason to disappear, and when the princess gives a press release to say that she's sick and you won't see her or her family for a while, or her stepfather, Then Russia gets attacked. The very same day. I think it was the same day, maybe 24 hours apart. Plus, in 2 weeks' time, there's going to be a certain eclipse in America. And I told you, people are nervous. Got all kinds of things happening. And we're all going to lose something or lose someone. Remember, we were already told that we will be served up. Some of us will be served up and murdered. Is that exciting? Is that exciting? Is that an exciting time? Are you ready for that? Are you ready for that? Is that what you're excited about? Yeah, the book says do not fear. Don't fear. Don't fear. But it mostly says do not fear to be who you are. Do not fear to be a child of Yah. Do not fear to stand up for what you believe in. Do not fear to say no when they're trying to shove certain doctrines down your throat. Do not fear not to take the mark. Do not fear to speak this gospel. I don't know what the word is. I don't know what the word is to describe how I personally feel. Isaiah 57, the righteous man perishes, and no one lays it to heart, and merciful and devout men are taken away, with no one considering that the uncompromisingly upright and godly person is taken away from the calamity and evil to come, even through wickedness. There's a huge mind game coming. We're in it already. We're in it already. You don't know what is real, what is fake, what is actual prophecy, what is fake prophecy. Because the fake prophecy, the whole world's latching onto, because they do not want to believe we're the people. They do not want to believe it. And the world knows this. So now, here they go with the red heifers and the temple and everything. Here they go. And totally obliterating Palestine and Lebanon. Because it's and then you open up the book and that prophecy is supposed to already been fulfilled. They said it was fulfilled, and it's like, hold on, how could that be fulfilled when it says it will be a desolation forever, but yet now they have cities and everything there. This is how when the real scriptures play out, it's just going to be such a shock to everybody. Everybody. So even when the righteous die, even when the righteous are taken, righteous people could fall tomorrow. Just be aware that it's in the scriptures, it was promised. Don't start questioning and doubting because you expected to be protected. The uncompromisingly upright and godly person is taken away from the calamity and evil to come, even through wickedness. And you know what happens when wounded animals get desperate and backed into a corner? I've already made my peace with it. Like, the walls are closing in around me already. Seriously. But I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. I've ruffled a lot of feathers just simply by doing this, by reading the word. And some other things as well. Even this, like, just ruffling feathers. But every time I wear this t-shirt, I'm asking, and I know for a fact that there are certain people who watch us. There is a lot more to this book. There's a lot more to this book. I can't explain it. I don't want to explain it. I'm just going to let it play out. But do you see how things are accelerating? It's because what they keep doing to us, they keep doing to us, they keep doing to us. What they keep doing to the people, but it's even worse on us. But they're pretending, oh, it's not us, it's not us. It's not us. It's not us. So if during that certain time between 2020 and 2022, if certain people lost their jobs for what they were saying and for what they refused to do, isn't it fair to say that people are gaining jobs for what they believe and what they're going along with? They go along with that one world voice and all the agendas and all the flags and all the verbiage. I think it is fair to say that, because all of a sudden loads of people haven't got a job and they can't get a job. They're applying for jobs, but and it's the exact same thing. Once again, the exact same thing which is happening in the States is happening here in the UK, probably other countries in Europe as well. And you still think we live in a democracy. So now the machine is choosing who gets a job, so people can say, oh, look, it's not us, we're not discriminating, we're not being racist, we're not doing this, we're not doing that. But the machine knows you. The machine knows you. You need to watch Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning. You really need to watch that film. The truth is in the movies, the lies are in the news. Who remembers Tenet, that film Tenet? The opening scene in the opera house, the theatre. Unbelievable. It's just getting real crazy now. But it's a slow process. So all you unbelievers and mockers and scoffers, I know people who have led you to believe that something major and dramatic is going to happen in 10 days' time. You want to hope they're wrong. And me, I hope that they're right. I don't actually hope that they're right, but I've been toiling with this. Is it wrong for me to feel this way just so that they can save face? Because I know how you unbelievers, you naysayers, you're just going to go crazy with it when nothing happens. But just know it's the beginning. Everything's going to start snowballing and real stuff is going to start happening. Everything's lined up for us to stay at home, for us to be distracted. What's coming? All the best TV series and movies are all been saved up, and they're all coming out this spring, this summer, and they're all just going to be one after the other, one after the other, one after the other. So what's coming? Oh, don't worry what's happening. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. There's extreme weather going on in the world right now and nobody's reporting on it. They don't want you to know. This is why you can't live Anyway, let me shut up until next time. You are only human. So be better. Once upon a time I was falling in love. Now I'm only falling apart.